Can you be a Democrat and be pro-gun? Can you be a liberal and be a Second Amendment advocate? What is a Democrat actually? That's what we're talking about today.
Blackmanwithagun.com. Kenn Blanchard's Pro-Gun Podcast.
You know, you might not understand what I'm doing with this podcast, but I got a chance to put out thoughts into the atmosphere to talk to people like you, smart people, understanding people, people of varying degrees of education, experiences, ages, demographics, and maybe not only entertain you, but influence the way you think. Today, I want to talk about teamwork, actually. The French language has a word for it. The Marines use it. It's called esprit de corps. It means a sense of common spirit existing in the members of a group and inspire enthusiasm, devotion, and strong regard for the honor of the group. Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision. On this show, for the most part, I'm talking about gun rights. But most of the time, I'm actually just talking about human rights and living your best life. I've been around long enough to understand that none of it's separate, that it's all the same, that we all actually want the same thing. We just are influenced by other people that we think that we fit in their group, in their mold, when actually we're looking for the same thing, just our way. So today, this week, I got a couple of questions for you. You heard them already. And I want you to think about working together versus the other way. What's going on right now in our country is the results of division, the results of media, the results of people, well-meaning people maybe, using how you feel to make you a certain way. Social media has been used to move you, motivate you, inspire you to go a different way. I want to use it just the opposite. I want to make sure that you are safe, that you are happy, that you are living the American dream. What is the American dream? You define it, and then you fight for it. Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm just an old Baptist preacher that believes in America, believes in God, and just so happens on a good day to be able to shoot the eye out of a bullfrog at 50 yards. Since 2014, I have been a member of the Crossbreed holster family. If you carry concealed, get a holster that supports not only your firearm, but your freedom, the faith, and this brother with a try-it-free lifetime guarantee. Crossbreedholsters.com. Crossbreedholsters.com. Prior to the civil rights movement in the 60s, African Americans were Republican. After that, the conservative and the liberal wing of our government changed. The conservative Northern Republicans and the Southern Democrats formed a conservative coalition which dominated the Congress in the pre-civil rights era. As Democrats under President Johnson began to support civil rights, and formerly the Solid South, meaning solidly Democratic, became solidly Republican, except in those districts with large numbers of African American voters. Since the 1960s, the Democratic Party has been considered liberal, and the Republican Party has been considered conservative. These last few decades, there's been a sharp division between those who call themselves liberal and those who call themselves conservative. The platform of the Democratic Party in the United States is generally based on this liberalism that we talk about. The party has a large centrist and progressive wing, as well as smaller conservative and socialist elements. Democratic platforms usually promote social programs, labor unions, consumer protection, workplace safety regulation, equal opportunity, disability rights, racial equality, regulations against environmental pollution, and the criminal justice reform. Liberals, Democrats, tend to support abortion and the LGBT community, as well as a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Democrats usually agree with the scientific consensus on climate change and favor a multilateral approach in foreign policy. Historically and traditionally, in the last 50 years of my life, Democrats have been strong proponents of gun control, with a stated goal to reduce crime and homicide. The Democratic Party has introduced various gun control measures, starting with the 1968 Gun Control Act, the Brady Bill in 1993, the Crime Control Act of 1994, and let me not forget the assault weapons ban in 1994. But brothers, don't leave me now. I'm going somewhere with this. I know that right now there are more African Americans, more Latinos, more Hispanics, more people of color that are and have been buying firearms for their protection. They have seen the writing on the wall. They have watched in horror the burning, the looting, the threats to your person. And now you're wondering, what's the deal? I don't identify with anything of the current president. I don't identify with anything of the Republican Party. I have always been a Democratic person. I believe in liberal things, but I want my firearm. I need to protect my family. And believe it or not, you are talking the same language as the rest of us. I say, welcome to the party, pal. Not the political party, but the party that believes in self-defense and the right to keep and bear arms. That's all we've been talking about. It's just tied together with politics for the ugly part of it. You see, the Democratic Party wishes to see a stricter regulation on firearms, especially what they call assault weapons. You know that now that you have a firearm, that you aren't any more a threat to your public, to your family, than you were before. There are so many lies connected with gun ownership. And now they're looking at you like they used to look at us. That's why I say welcome to the party. You see, my brother and my sister, you will find out that now because you have a firearm, they think something's wrong with you. That the gun by itself has powers. That the gun by itself will leave your home, your rack, your locked place, your secure destination, and go out and indiscriminately kill people. They want to control what you own. You've had a hard time finding a firearm now that you want one. You've had a hard time finding ammunition now that you have a firearm. Why? Because of the laws that have already gone into existence. There are 20,000 gun control laws across this country, and they never stop a criminal. They never stop a terrorist. They never stop anybody with evil intentions in their heart. By definition, criminals do not obey the law. And because most politicians are lawyers, this whole thing is involved in a legality of suing for stricter gun control. But we're really just controlling us, your dollars, your wallet. That firearm that you just purchased, you probably paid $200 too much for it. That ammunition that you just bought didn't cost that much 5 years ago. It's never been about gun control. It's just people control. You know, back in the day, Southern slave owners also understood the need to keep their victims helpless and unarmed. They wrote stuff like, in 1854, a law in North Carolina said that no slave shall go armed with a gun or shall keep weapons. Violators received 39 lashes. 39 was significant because 40 was death. Anything over 40 would kill a person. So just to the point of death, not saying that you were, I don't know, if you weren't feeling that good, you might go out with 39. Who knows? But after the Civil War, white Southerners tried to maintain their monopoly over firearms. Many states barred African Americans from owning guns. That's why so many of us say that gun control is racist. It's all based on who is allowed to have firearms. Now that you're in this fight with us, Democrats, liberals, prepare to fight. Prepare to fight to keep your firearms. Prepare to fight to work in legislation to vote people out of office. What if we can change the party? What if you, as a Democrat, can change the way folks fight over the Second Amendment? You know, they always say, because they're lawyers, they'll say something like, we recognize that the individual right to bear arms is an important part of the American tradition, and we will preserve America's Second Amendment right to own and use firearms. And then at the same time, focus on anything that will take a firearm out of your family, out of your hands. They'll claim a loophole which doesn't exist. They'll claim that everybody's a terrorist. They'll claim stuff that is just not true. That's what this whole thing is about. The whole argument, the whole fussing about the right to keep and bear arms, about people not knowing they're lying, not knowing that this stuff is based on fiction, fear, hate, and misunderstanding. Let me tell you something that I found out myself in this whole Second Amendment world. You'll get a guy with long braided beard riding a Harley Davidson with a Confederate flag tattooed on his bicep, and he says pro Second Amendment on his shirt. And the press, the media, and just our fear of a redneck, our fear of a Klansman, we'll just paint that dude with the brush of he hates black people, he'll kill me if he gets a chance, all of that. Now, what if I said that was some prejudgment on your part? Yeah, just like he saw you and thought you immediately were a no good, non-parenting, sexual deviant, want his white woman, drug dealing black person. Right. Exactly. We all do exactly the same thing by looking at people. And in this political thing and its right to keep and bear arms, they've been using that thing to keep us apart. One of the weirdest things that happened to me when I first started 30 years ago was that I went to a range where I was the only black person there, and I was armed, concealed. So if anybody started anything, it was going to be an ugly party that day. But I got nothing but love that day by myself without anybody else in my backup from crazy looking folks that I had judged one way or the other. And as I kept in that movement, kept in this thing, I learned that I had as much of a bigotry as anybody else. I had to check myself after a while. It's like, all right, it's not all them. It's us too. But you don't want to hear that. I know. The world doesn't want peace. The world doesn't want equality. Not really. You want to stay in your bubble, stay on your side of the lane. You still want to think that you're right on everything. I know. But for the one or two folks who understand what I'm saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself. We're all in this mess together. And we usually don't even realize it until there's some terrible catastrophe or something that you need to rely on one another. Until then, we're all in our little sections, pointing each other out, our differences and whatever. It's dumb. It's dumb in the long run. And I can extend that all the way to the LGBTQ folks. I grew up in a super conservative Christian family. So I am not comfortable being a advocate or a champion for the LGBTQ people. Not. But they do have a right to keep and bear arms. They do have a right to live as they choose to be, like all Americans. They do have a right to shoot when they want to do all the stuff that you do. But we do judge, don't we? Yes, we do. And they're part of this liberal gun establishment. They're not getting a fair shake either. They have to become conservative almost to be pro-gun. And that's what I'm talking about today, that we all don't have to be Republicans to be Second Amendment advocates. I know it's contrary to how everything's written. I know it's contrary to how folks have been brought up. But if you are a Democrat, I saw this on an Instagram post, which I assume is you're talking about a black steel Democrat, that you're going to stay a Democrat, stay a liberal, but be a Second Amendment advocate. You got a harder row to hoe. You got a harder job to do. And I want you to do it. I want you to change the way the party is being run. What if there was a movement on the inside of the Democratic Party to come online with the right to keep and bear arms, to come online with the Second Amendment, to come online with the pro-gun folks on the other side? Now, we still can be different. We are different in so many ways, and we're all the same in so many ways as well. That's the whole reason for my blabbering today, that if you choose to be a Democrat, to be a liberal, to, in our two-party system, fight for it. Don't let our elected officials on the Democratic side bowl us over when it comes to guns. Now, if you are independent, if you are a libertarian, I understand. I really do. Tired of the hatred, tired of the crazy talk on both sides. Why can't we all just get along? But in this crazy two-party system, you got to be one or the other right now. So wherever you are, on whatever party you claim, whatever thing you identify as, if you are a Second Amendment advocate and a gun owner, you got work to do. You have to let your voice be heard. You have to tell your elected officials. You have to get in their face. You have to visit them. You have to call them. You have to write them. You have to do what we haven't been doing for a while, and that is hold them accountable for their actions. And even though you are a Democrat, even though you are a liberal, you must change the people you put in office so that they speak for you for real, not just on election day, not just when it's time to be reelected. Gonna get an amen, somebody. And believe it or not, it can be done. It's going to be damn near impossible the way things are right now. But I don't believe in impossible. Not when it comes to people. We change like water. I know a dude who was Democratic his whole life until he ran for office. Then he found out that he could probably do better if he changed to a Republican. Tactical move. Didn't work for me, but it did work for the guy who's in the White House right now. I am as conservative as a Mayflower. Yeah, almost cussed. But I believe in freedom. I believe in the rights of all of us, crazy looking people here on this earth. And firearms is the great equalizer. It'll make a crazy person change their mind and live right for a little while. I don't know what you believe. I don't know what your faith system is if you have one. I don't know what your political party is. What I'm saying, in summary, is that if you identify as a liberal, as you identify as a Democrat, that you would fight for the right to keep and bear arms where you are. You can still be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. But I don't believe your party speaks for you. Just like I don't think a lot of the people that are in politics right now speak for any of us. They speak for themselves. And we just let them stay in power. We just keep re-electing them. And that's another problem all by itself. Be who you're going to be. You know, in the early phases of the war between the states, we call the Civil War, many of Abraham Lincoln's advisors pressed him to compromise with the South by giving in to its demands. One Virginian counseled him to give up all federal forts and property in the southern states. And Lincoln responded by recounting Aesop's fable of the lion and the woodsman. And he said, "A lion was very much in love with a woodsman's daughter. The fair maiden referred him to her father, and the lion applied for the girl. The father replied, 'Your teeth are too long.' So the lion went to a dentist and had them pulled out. Returning, he asked for his bride. 'No,' said the father, the woodsman, 'your claws are too long.' So going back to the dentist, he had them shaved down. Then he returned to claim his bride, and the woodsman, seeing that he was unarmed, beat out his brains. Lincoln said, 'May it not be so with me if I give up all that is asked.' I ain't asking you to give up nothing. I'm just saying, when it's time to fight, step up to the mic. They have tried to divide us, but you're held strong. You have neighbors and family that don't know how cool you are, but I do. Help me and support this podcast. Help me be the goodwill ambassador for our side. Nobody likes to start over. Together, we can do this thing. Go to patreon.com/blackmanwithagun. Did you get it? patreon.com/blackmanwithagun. I want to read something to you that I got from a friend. It was printed in the town hall. It says, "The system has failed people of all races. I know from experience. The criminal justice system is just a system. It has failed people of all races. Amidst the riots across America, people are understandably focused on the problems faced by people of color. While it is obvious that they have faced real problems, lots of other people have felt let down by the system. That's what I felt and learned over the years. It has failed people of all races. It often seems that there is not much justice to it." She speaks from experience. She says her husband, Ben, was murdered in front of her by a man who was stalking her for 11 years. She waited for a trial for 3 long, agonizing years, praying that she would get real justice. The evidence was overwhelming that this was first-degree, premeditated murder. When the police searched her stalker's vehicle at the crime scene, they found 2 more guns, ammunition, and a baseball bat, binoculars, gloves, rope, and a knife. She says, "My stalker posted to social media the day before. Predator versus prey. I know who you are. Run. Where will you work? Where I can't find you. At home, at dinner, in your sleep, every waking moment. My stalker purchased a shoulder holster, baseball bat, and binoculars the day of the murder. He asked oblivious acquaintances where he could find us that night, and then he hunted us down. Despite all of the stress, trauma, anxiety, and overwhelming evidence proving first-degree murder, liberal Judge Seth Norman of Davidson County, Tennessee, ended up dropping the charge to only second degree. My husband's murderer, Hank Wise, was only sentenced to 23 years with no parole, but even that was a lie. Most of the general public doesn't know this, but victims are lied to every day in criminal courts across the nation. My stalker has been allowed to earn early release good behavior credits, so he does not have to serve his full sentence. But it gets worse. From prison, he has been sending me twisted love letters for years that are meant to traumatize and terrorize me. However, despite this obvious crime from behind bars, the criminal justice system has not revoked his early release credits. My pleas have been left disregarded. There needs to be a, quote, truth in sentencing, end quote, laws for violent offenders like Hank Wise. Victims of violent crime and their families should not be lied to. We have already been through enough. The criminal justice system has failed me on multiple occasions, and it has been a very frustrating process above and beyond losing Ben in such a horrific way. The anger that so many people feel toward the system is justified. The saying, no justice, no peace, has real meaning for many people of all races. I watch the news and see peaceful protesters on streets all over our nation. I sit there watching and thinking to myself, I get it. They are fed up, and they are trying to have their voices heard in a constructive way that will help everyone. I myself have been fed up for years. I don't see it as a race issue, though. I see it as a human rights and victims' rights issues. None of us are immune from facing an evil person who can change the course of our life forever. An evil person who can take our spouse in an instant and make all of your dreams and plans for your future disappear forever. She says, I am just one little woman out here trying to fight peacefully for the rights of citizens when they become victims of people who do not respect life or laws. I'm not out smashing windows, burning vehicles, looting, or physically harming anyone to get my point across. I don't believe that engaging in criminal acts is the way to go about making change. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew this, and he was successful and respected for it. If we want to change the system, we should use our voices in a way that inspires others and does not divide us. At the end of the day, we all bleed the same color, and we all want justice when horrible things happen to innocent people. I firmly believe that justice will not be served until those who work within the criminal justice system are as outraged as victims are. It just seems that those who are unaffected don't seem to really care. That is why so many people in our country are furious, and rightfully so. We have a lot of work to do, and it requires the voices of all races. Evil can visit any of us at any time, and we must stand together to change the system. And this is from my friend Nikki Gozer. She's the executive director of Crime Prevention Research Center and the author of Stalked and Defenseless: How Gun Control Helped My Stalker Murder My Husband in Front of Me. Watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits. They become your character. Watch your character. It becomes your destiny. Thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the Black Man with a Gun Show. I am your host, Reverend Kenn Blanchard, and I thank you so much for taking just a few minutes of your day to think about what I said, to be a part of my community. If there is anything I can do for you, feel free to reach out to me at blackmanwithagun@gmail.com. Check out our website at blackmanwithagun.com. And, the world is funky, but it's the only one we got. Just in case nobody else has told you this today, I love you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, shalom, baby.
Until next time, friends.
To keep in touch with Kenn and his cause, head over to blackmanwithagun.com.